Hello, good evening.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Hello.
Welcome. Chrissy, I'll let you go.
Okay, there you go. Welcome to the Groomers Cut by the Whole Pet Grooming Academy. We have with us tonight, we have Dara Forleo, the brains behind the school. We have Katie Hikla. We have Jennifer Bishop Jenkins, and I'm Chrissy Newmeyer Smith. And tonight we are talking about OSHA. And I admit I don't know a whole lot about OSHA because my little business is just me. But OSHA is there to protect all of us as business owners, as employees, and we should all be aware of the kind of things that OSHA expects our businesses to do. And anybody want to jump in? Everybody's frozen. Like, no. Oh, Jennifer's ready because we do have some big issues in our industry that we need to be careful about.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I think the first thing is to think of, I like the title of this episode with the OSH, exclamation point kind of, OSHA as a like, oh God, like not good. But actually, I think of OSHA as a
We do tend to get scared.
Yeah, no, really, it is just a tremendous resource. It's a tremendous help. It gives us guidance and information. Like if you wanted to know a little bit about disinfection, you could get a lot of information about it. And if you wanted to know a little bit about what kinds of, levels of noise are dangerous to your ears or whatever, it's going to be there as a resource to you. So even if you don't fall under OSHA's specific rules, and I'm not a lawyer here, but I'm pretty sure you have to have X number of employees before OSHA falls heavily on you. There are some basics of course, that are universal. But I think that there are certain levels of OSHA expectations that only fall on larger companies. But for me, it's just been a great resource. And so for example, to me, the most basic things are that have to do with the bodily health of we who groom, right? So high velocity dryers are probably more than 70 decibels. I am now at the age of 65, having to wear for the last couple of years of my life hearing aids, and it's expensive and a pain in the rear. And I don't like having hearing loss. I really don't. And it's not, and here I am running around my grooming shop, putting, industrial strength hearing protection onto my staff. And every time I step out of the room, these young kids, they just take it off and they don't care. And I'm like, you don't understand hearing aids. While I was still in my 50s, this is not fun. You don't want to be going deaf. You want to protect your hearing, and I provide all of that. And I don't, it's such an important thing for us to do to care for our bodies. So for me, OSHA in my shop is first and foremost about the health and safety of my staff, which is a precious commodity. And so that means that their hearing and what's on their shoes and what kind of flooring we have and what kind of noise and what kind of particulate matter is blowing up in the air. And I did a Groomer to Groomer magazine article on groomer's lung disease, which is serious and real. Mm-hmm. And we have people my age walking around with oxygen tanks because they've been grooming all their lives without masking. And here we've just, like I know a lot of people couldn't wait to get the masks off recently because of COVID, but actually groomers should always have been masking, especially when you are blow drying and in a confined space, because this little thing that OSHA talks about called PM, particulate matter, is the same stuff that people who lay floor tile and people who do insulation in your house and people who do roofing and do drywalling, they are all wearing N95 masks all the time because of particulate matter. People who do asbestos work, all of this is real. What we do throws up molecular size particulate matter. And the best thing that the OSHA...
Well, even the bigger things, I mean, like blowing out a husky, I mean, the larger things too. They're, I think I started wearing a mask drying dogs, I'd say about 5 years ago. but that's a huge amount of time when I wasn't.
Yeah.
I started wearing your hearing protection, I'd say about 10 years ago. And there was just a large amount of time when I didn't. And I know some of those reasons were like, but what if you don't hear a dog growl or things like that? You know what? Get used to the hearing protection and don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you
now,
usually weren't hearing all that detail with all the dryers and stuff going
No,
in.
you're not. And you can see it in their body language. And if
You can feel it under your
keeping
hand and
right, you
yeah.
can, if you have your hand on them, you can feel them tense. So you don't
Yeah.
really
but
need to hear it.
nowadays they make what the little earplugs that you can
Yes.
actually hear people's voices,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it blocks out all the rest of the
Yeah.
sound.
I got a Black Friday deal on those for all my daycare staff
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
and
of the barking.
and they're disposable, so you wear them and throw them away.
Yep.
It comes down to, I think what we should maybe go back to really quick is just to say what OSHA is, because a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
Oh,
people don't know.
yeah.
And what it's about and who it's to protect. Because I know when I do this seminar at the shows that people always ask, well, that doesn't affect me. So, but OSHA is the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. And that
And
is
it's federal.
government.
Yep.
It is federal,
Mhm.
but every state can choose their own OSHA rules and regulations. So the federal government sets it at this bar, but the states can raise it above should
Mhm.
they have different crop. You think about maybe more construction in some areas,
Mhm.
more
Or
agriculture
coal
in
mining
some
or
areas.
more coal mining, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they have the means to be able to tweak it as they see fit for their main source of industry. And they are there to protect employees, but they're
Mhm.
also there, which a lot of people think, and why I kind of marked it as the bleep
Oh,
OSHA,
S word. Oh,
because
Yeah.
a lot of people fear it. And they are there for disgruntled employees. There is a way that can be used against an employer if things aren't going smoothly. So you've got to, you
Well,
need to know where your safety net is with them and
And
what
it's to
they're there
protect
for.
employers too.
Oh yeah,
It's to
absolutely.
protect
yeah.
employers. So if you're running a shop and you're like, we are following OSHA codes for how much you can lift or how much,
Yep.
like what kind of noise levels, we're following those OSHA codes. Take your complaints someplace else.
Yeah.
It protects
That's
everybody.
just it. I think Katie and I worked together years and years ago,
Mhm.
and we always even though we were both self-employed, we always sort of followed those codes amongst each other,
Right.
just because it set the standard already high instead of just allowing the hair to pile up in the corner and not
Right.
be swept, and stuff to be out of place, and old mats being down on the ground,
Right.
and extension cords all over the place. That's
Yep.
one thing. Extension cords are a
Oh yeah.
huge issue in grooming shops, and the fire
Mhm.
hazards that not only that they cause, but the tripping hazards.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
and if you have dogs that are on the floor and they start chewing on a cord, all these little things you don't think about that
Yeah.
just look a normal groom. People think, oh,
Equipment in wet areas.
yeah,
Yep.
just a grooming shop.
Yeah.
Shoes are so good now. You can have the shoes that are slip free in the grooming rooms. So, but I don't know how good that works on, you walk into a shop and it's knee deep in hair. Oh, we'll get to it after.
Blech.
Instead, but OSHA's there, and I'm trying to find, because there is a book. You can download all of their free books online that has everything you need in a service as a service provider. Now, granted, they're not gearing it towards the grooming industry per se, but you can look at it and go, well, I'm like a restaurant. We
Right.
we are we
Like a
should
kitchen with wet floors and yeah.
that cleanliness level for our employees that are here and just for our customers walking through the door. So you can see that. Some things that they'll check, you can contact OSHA yourself and actually have them come in and do an inspection and tell you where you're lacking or
Yep.
where you need to be better focused. Or
And they don't charge you for this.
No, they don't. Yep.
charge you for it, and
Yep.
they don't fine you for it. So
Right.
if you do have a problem coming down the road, or you foresee something with someone, if you have a good relationship with your OSHA representative in your state or town, you're going to be that much ahead of the game.
Right.
The fines are immense. They are daily fines. If you do get fined, tens of thousands of dollars. I just recently learned of a shop that was fined $40,000 in 2 days because they didn't,
Oh,
that's for a lot of people, that's a going out of business.
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
So
Well, and if you circle back to why they came about, I know Jennifer's like, I'm the history teacher. Hold on a
No,
second.
no, you
But
go.
why they came about?
You
Uh,
go. This is
is
an
that,
interesting story.
well, there are lots of different reasons, but I live in New England, and the city of Lowell has this beautiful museum set up about the mills and the
Yep.
textile mills in
Yep.
Lowell. And the Industrial Revolution was really pretty harsh working environments.
yeah.
They have one display in that mill building where they have you put in some ear protection, and then they turn on the machines in just one room. And they start talking about like how people were losing fingers working in that environment. There were a lot of moving parts. It was not very safe. The air pollution in there with like cotton pieces flying around, and that this is kind of where OSHA started, where it was part of how can we make this work environment safer, because you shouldn't go to work and lose a finger. I mean, you shouldn't die from working in a mill, and that's part of our history of why OSHA came about.
And for those of you that aren't as old as I am, there's a great movie you can watch, and it's old, but it won Best Picture of the Year and it won Best Actress for Sally Field. The movie is Norma Ray. It's a true story of how the workers tried to restore safer working conditions in their factory, and it's a powerful film. And you can kind of learn the story end of things like that, like how workers themselves were at so much risk and they had to fight so hard. I mean, we had labor laws we had no labor laws in the 1800s. In the early 20th century, we had child labor, 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds that were being forced to work, through the night, 18-hour days in sweatshop conditions. I mean, it's a good thing that we have a country that cares about protecting its workers. And, the grooming industry is already under so much stress in terms of finding good groomers and keeping good employees. And if we don't take care of our staff, that's our greatest resource. We are a service industry. We work with our hands. Our money is our people. And if we have employees, taking care of them has to be a top priority. Because if you want this to be a career, then you need to be able to have lungs that are still working for you when you're in your 40s. And that means that you should be wearing an N95 mask, especially when you are blow drying or doing brushing, combing, anything that's going to propel dander up into the air. And one of the things that I read on the OSHA website that really struck me, and I used it in my Groomer to Groomer column about the masking and the groomer's lung and the particulate matter of dander and little bits of hair, microscopic bits that we're breathing in all day long as we are brushing, blow drying, clippering hair, is that the lungs are a dead end organ. And I had never really thought about this before, but the dead end organ means that it's not like something you swallow in your stomach and then eventually it gets, sent through your digestive tract and out the other end. If stuff gets into your lungs, it stays there forever.
Yep.
Forever.
Yep.
And
There's only so much you can cough up
and builds up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And some of the little tiny hairs that we breathe in. I love my clipper vac. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
But some of those little tiny trimmed hairs, I mean, we know what those do to your hands,
Mhm.
right? That those get into your
Winters.
skin, but those get into your lungs too, and then cause all sorts of problems.
Yeah. So it's to me, it's just part of you know, an investment in the success of your business and being able to do, you know, to do right by your people. My staff knows that their safety is a top priority for me. And yes, I'm a naggy mother with these, you know, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who don't want to wear their hearing protection and their masks, but they know that I'm right, and they all, yeah, I know.
So sometimes people will ask about that with like, well, but is it really going to lose my hearing? What's worse than losing your hearing is getting that high pitch ringing in your
Tinnitus.
ears that
Yeah.
might never go away.
Tinnitus.
And the idea of
Yep.
that to me is terrifying. I
Yep.
do not want
I
that
have,
in my future. And
I
if
have
you
it too.
play that
Yep.
for somebody, like
yeah,
this could be your future
yeah,
all the time. And they're like,
Yep.
oh, that's
Yep.
different, then I might not hear you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's different. It's awful. I
It's
don't
a
want it.
ringing that's constantly, and the reason why I wear hearing aids now is that the more sound I get from outside actually helps to help my brain not hear the constant ringing. But when I
Mhm.
take my hearing aids off and lay down on my pillow at night to go to sleep, I'm listening to literally low level but fire alarms in my
Yep.
ears
Mm.
every night.
Yep.
Yep, I don't want that for myself. Nope.
You don't.
But you know, the grooming
Everybody,
environment,
trust me, you don't.
I know.
Yes.
But the grooming environment, we have noise, we have air quality issues, we have animals that we're lifting. So lifting is another
Moisture and
one.
bacterial.
Moisture, bacteria.
Yep.
We have products that we use.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember what it's called. MSDS sheets.
It's they're just called safety data sheets now.
Oh, is that what they are now?
Material
How do you say
safety,
you're old without
right,
saying you're old, Chrissy? Right.
material safety data sheets that you
Yeah,
are
the
supposed to
safety sheets.
keep
Yep.
Mhm.
on file for every product on your shelf. And most places, products don't supply them anymore. You have to go to their website to get them.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they're readily available.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it just
Yeah.
says like how much of this is poisonous and how much of this you have to dilute. And it actually just gives you
Put it in your
ingredients.
eyes, what to
It's in
do.
case somebody ingests something and you can contact poison control online so they know exactly what to do and you
Right.
have it ready for them so they know who ingested, or even for a dog for that
Mhm.
matter. If you have a dog that gets
What the
something
chemical is.
or ingests too much of something, that it's just, again, it just protects you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Something
I
splashes in
also
your eye.
that has a compliance assistant,
Oh, nice.
and it has steps 1 through 7 all the way from and for most, this is for most general businesses, but all the
Is this at the website that you just put up on the chat?
Yep, it's Yep,
Good,
and
good.
it goes everything through your surveys, through developing comprehensive job site safety and a health program, training your employees, record keeping and reporting. So, and just keeping and maintaining your compliance. OSHA's a
Yeah.
great thing until they walk through your door and you're not ready for them.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And until you find out that you're not in compliance, but
Yeah.
the hard way, you know.
Yeah. And if as an employer, I'm sorry, as an employee, I mean, yeah, this affects you too. Any job you work at. And if it's not being supplied for you and you want these things, get them yourself.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with having and taking an initiative and doing it yourself, or
Mhm.
find a place that offers these kind of things, because the more of you guys that are moving to facilities that are doing and staying compliant, the better our industry is going to become.
Yeah. When that starts becoming the norm, like, oh, well, that's not OSHA compliant. Oh, why? Oh, well, let me tell you why. And yeah, yep. Oh, Kim's on. What is
Yay,
it?
Kim.
Ooh.
Kim's son has a master's in OSHA safety standards. I love that.
Oh,
Kim, that is so
Cool.
cool.
That's
That's
great.
it's
So
so
does he
cool.
come in and check your shop regular?
I know, right?
You know what?
There's that.
Another thing that is, if you can comply with OSHA safety standards, you can probably very easily also pass like the AKC safe, for
Right.
example,
Yes.
credential.
Yep.
Or and God bless the AKC and other organizations in our industry like PPGSA, which years ago, after the first efforts at state licensing of groomers, thankfully bad versions of them that have failed, but it's coming, and we know that this licensing thing is not going to go away. It's going to be before us, that groomers will eventually have to face the same kind of licensing that beauticians do, and probably should. But to comply with, if you can meet OSHA standards, you can pass the AKC safe, and then you have that credential.
AKC safe was pretty good. I think OSHA is far more.
Our OSHA is more, because
yeah.
AKC safe doesn't really speak to employee stuff as much, but
Right.
facility
It's definitely
Yeah.
more about keeping
Facilities
the
and-
animals safe,
Right.
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is good also, not to
Yeah.
downplay that at all, but that's we forget that we're so hyper focused on the animal being the number one that we do tend to forget about the people that are coming into our spaces.
I mean, when I
Yeah.
did both an IPG, International Professional Groomers Salon certification, and the AKC Salon certification, I had to do some things I hadn't done yet. I mean, I already had my inspected with the annual tag dates of fire extinguishers. I had, but I didn't have routes posted on walls this way to the exit. And I didn't have an eye wash station with saline in a cabinet place where people could go and emergency eye wash. Just things like that those programs helped me to add to my salon.
Yep.
Really helpful.
Right.
yeah.
And
Always
there are
important.
just so many different ways for us to get hurt at work anyway, because dogs are unpredictable, but just knowing ahead of time, like, how can we make it as safe as possible? And that's really what our OSHA standards are there for, to make it as safe as possible. Where and we've come a long way as an industry too, because we have, I think every shop out there has at least one table that adjusts in height.
Yeah.
That was a big one, big
deal.
That was a big deal.
How
Big deal.
many of us groomed on those old tables that had one height, and you just had to bend yourself up and down?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh
We
yeah.
had a couple different
Not
height
old.
tables.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That we've come a long way. There are just some things like high velocity dryers. Even if the motor of the dryer is fairly quiet, high velocity air never will be.
Right.
There are just some things about our job that we're always going to have to be like, what, hearing protection is important. Air quality, even if you have a filter, even if you have, we're still always going to be looking for ways to make it better.
Yeah.
And
how about medicated shampoos, when people bring in medicated
right.
shampoos from the vets, and you see it just glob on your hands and start right away?
Yep.
Yep. So many things like that. Yeah. Flea products. Like, I don't want to touch flea products. I don't want to be any part of that, and there are rules about that. Like some of our flea products and stuff that, is that applying a pesticide? Like the OSHA will be able to tell you if that's something you need special licensing for.
And the best kept secret in the flea product industry is that any soap kills fleas.
Right.
They kind of stun them and they drown, right?
Drown them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any soap will kill fleas. So there you go. Kim says her son that works with his OSHA masters described it to pretend you are the clumsiest and most accident prone person ever. Then how would you fix the situation? Worst case scenarios, and then some common sense. Good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your son sounds like a really good guy, Kim. You did a good job. Yay, groomers.
I know, right?
I'm kind of interested to hear what he thinks of our industry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
And what he thinks, knowing that it being an unregulated one as well, that it's just a free for all. So,
Yeah,
Yes,
it would
let
be
us
interesting.
know.
see.
I think that
All right, I'm still playing on the website going, "Oh, I forgot about this." This.
I'm afraid that some groomers might be deterred, like this is some hill that's too tall to climb, or it's just too much to hassle with. But
Mm-mm.
believe it or not, these are minor investments
Yeah.
that you make that are not only for your health and safety and that of your staff, if you have some, or even if you don't, maybe your clients or your dogs, but to have a safe environment to work in when you're working with live animals in this, this is a physical job. It can be unpredictable. And if you have a safe environment, then that is going to mean more money for you over the long haul. You're going to have longevity in your career. You're going to have longevity with your staff and your business. Doing it right and safe from the beginning is the only way to go, because any other way you're at risk constantly for lawsuits and damages and injuries. And,
Hmm.
you know
And
how
each new generation of groomers coming in going, well, this is just the way it's always been done, right? Like, that's great. Yeah, we always worry hearing protection. Like,
Yeah.
it's
It's dangerous in ears. Oh, wait, where did it go, Kim?
Kim
Oh,
said,
he's
yeah,
baffled by it. He jokes it's an
yes,
underground
here it
career.
is.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it is a little
Yeah.
bit of an underground career. Yeah,
Yep.
for
Yep.
some.
There,
For others,
there
it's not.
is still a significant number of
Yep.
people working for cash. It is sad in our
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Come into the light, people.
Well, and all of these things protect us as groomers who own a business too, because you are still on the floor,
Yes.
And it's not unreasonable, the kind of things that they're asking for, but it might need to have an electrician or a plumber come in and take a look.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it's not going to be costly. It could be, but if it's unsafe, I want the electrician or the plumber to tell me
Right.
that.
And
I
even
want
if
them to come
you
in.
and even if you start, like Kim said, with common sense and thinking about that worst case scenario,
Hmm.
you've got a starting point there. It's not.
Yep. Yep.
And Katie, you have boarding and daycare, right?
Yes.
So you've got a facility that's being used by living things 24/7.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I have, um, depending on, it's been tough lately, but we have at least 6 staff. So there's always, like I said, I just ordered ear protection for all of them, because it gets loud. The barking is loud.
Mhm.
So I think about it all the time. We don't have enough employees yet to be to worry about OSHA coming and inspecting or anything like that, but it's always in the back of my head. And
Sure.
because
So,
eventually,
And
you know,
it's not even going to be that they're just going to come in.
right,
It's going to take a complaint or
right,
somebody
exactly, yes,
filing against you.
right.
And like I said, that's when you don't want that. Oh,
Yeah, you don't want to have
you
to
want to be
backpedal and make up
hey guys,
for it.
prepared
Yeah,
to
yeah.
right.
say,
Yeah,
this is it. I didn't even know and that there's like a proper way through OSHA that you're supposed to fill up your mop buckets.
yes, yep, there is.
You'll have to
True.
educate me on that one. I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah.
Now
there's
I'm
a
wondering if I was taught the
protocol
proper
for
way,
that.
because now I'm like, there are alternate ways to fill a mop bucket. I'm like, maybe I'm doing it
Well,
wrong. I
because
don't
we're
know.
talking about like maybe they've got Clorox bleach or something that could burn you. You don't want to splash by pouring into
Splash it,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep.
And how
Yep.
to properly empty it.
yep,
And it's
Mhm.
interesting the point you were making earlier about how states, Dara, can surpass even OSHA regulations if they
Mhm.
want to.
Yep.
We had in Illinois, and this is to Katie's point about having a 24/7 facility with living creatures there. We had no government, no regulation in Illinois that required a human being to be present overnight
Yep.
with dogs boarding, which I'm a little bit troubled by. But they had people there until, I don't know, 10, 11 at night. They had somebody there at 6 in the morning. They had them all safely, it was going along nicely until a facility with 29 dogs in it burned overnight and every one
Yep.
of them
Oh.
died. And
Oh,
so a
interesting.
new law was passed in Illinois, surpassing OSHA, requiring that fire alarms in any space that has any living thing, including little mice and rats in a big box store or whatever,
Mhm.
that overnight, any living animals, that there has to be a fire alarm system that meets an inspection that makes automatic phone calls
Yep.
to the fire department, whether there that is a person present or not, in order to, if there's any, smoke or smells or whatever, that they have to put in these really expensive systems that
Yep.
can automatically call for help, which makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. When I moved into the building, the town made me do that. It wasn't even the state. It was the town.
Good.
So, yep.
That's good.
Yep.
So Kim's talking about the ear protection used at the gun ranges. Actually, that's what I'm using. I
Yeah.
think if we can talk a little bit about ear protection, I think people tend to think their earbuds that are noise canceling are ear protection, and they
Mm-mm.
could be, but there's more criteria to look for.
Yeah.
Just having something over your ear does not mean that it's protecting your hearing. It could be, but not just like, what, I have my ear noise canceling, whatever. You could still be, having problems with the amount of noise.
Mhm.
I really like the over ear earmuff type that they sell at the parts store.
Yeah.
However, when you're upside down and they start
They
slipping
fall off.
around and they
Yeah.
fall off, but
Yep.
earbuds fall out of my ears, so that bugs me.
Yes.
Like earbuds just don't fit right. But I did find something used for the gun range that's over, like almost like a hearing aid that goes in and then comes up around my ears, and those actually stay in. That are meant to protect your hearing from a gun range.
Yep.
And those work pretty well and have lasted a long time. So when we start talking about our hearing, though, also wet floors. How many people have wiped out on a wet floor?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. I have.
Yeah. And sometimes it feels like you're playing like, oh my God, how many mats can we put down?
Yep.
But, we have to look at a couple things. We have to look at, why is the floor getting so wet? Because
Exactly.
sometimes there are things that we can prevent. And what are we doing about drying it? And what kind of grip and texture do we have to be able to make sure we're not slipping in it?
Mhm.
At some point you're going to slip on it, but but these are things about our job that just we can prevent a lot of it, and
Mhm.
that's what I really think OSHA is for, and we shouldn't
Yep.
be afraid of it.
No, see it as a great friend and resource and help and guide and
Mhm.
answerer of many questions. And, like at the touch of your fingers on the internet, they're going to give you answers to anything that you might even think about, and some that you haven't. So if you're grooming in your home, you wouldn't want any less for yourself in terms of safety. No matter where you're grooming, if you're grooming by yourself, you still want to be safe. In fact, it's even more important if you're by yourself, because there's nobody there to assist you if there's an accident or something. So, I think that these should extend to all forms of grooming, mobile grooming, home grooming. I think that breathing and hearing protection inside a mobile unit is
Oh,
just
absolutely. Yeah.
critical.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And
And house
Jody,
call is always kind of random, but I still have to make sure that I'm plugging into something ground fault on interrupt,
Yep.
and
Oh,
if
yes.
not, I can bring one. I can bring a ground fault interrupter.
Right.
They make
Yeah.
them that you can plug in and then plug into that.
Yes. Yep.
Just so you guys know, Jody Murphy, who is Mackenzie Murphy's mother, you guys know that the
Mhm.
two more famous women in the grooming industry there are not, the only mother and daughter that have ever both made Groom Team, right? And Jody Murphy has these amazing educational materials and so on. Both master groomers, amazing.
Mhm.
And Jody is a groomer's lung. She's very
Yes.
public about it.
Yep.
I interviewed her for my article in Groomer to Groomer magazine. And
Yep. 'Cause she groomed mobile for so many years.
she blamed being in a mobile doing the high velocity drying. And of course, she's got hearing issues too. But she was so, when I called her to interview her, and bless her for saying yes to this, she was so, I can't even communicate. And most people coming into the grooming industry, you guys are young, and I know when I was under 25, I didn't think about stuff like this either. But she was in tears with me on the phone, thanking me for writing this article in the magazine, thanking Barkley for publishing it in Groomer to Groomer magazine. Any way she could think of, with desperation in her voice, to help anybody not have to go through what she is going through now, having to be on oxygen tanks every day, getting out of breath just walking up the stairs to go to bed at night, having to go to the doctor for these long and difficult things, and almost having died on several occasions, and just the fear and the pain and the limitations that she's living with now, all because she didn't wear masks during those early years of her grooming. And it isn't just being in a mobile and doing the high velocity drying in a confined space. Anybody can get just standing in a grooming table, just running clippers, brushers, where you're flicking up, because remember, the particulate matters that are that is most dangerous to your lungs is the stuff that's microscopic, the stuff that you can't see.
Yep. And just because you don't have symptoms now doesn't mean you don't have damage.
Yep.
Yeah.
It
You
takes
might have damage, and it might show up later. Yep. When I first started wearing ear protection, I noticed that I didn't have hearing loss, but I had I forget what they call it, hearing fatigue, like but a lot of that came back a little bit, okay, because for a while there it was just bombarded every day. When I first started wearing hearing protection, I noticed a difference. Definitely noticed a difference. Within a couple of weeks, my hearing was much better, because it wasn't actual hearing loss. There's probably some real damage there, and I'm sure I'm going to pay for it later for things that I did in my 20s and my 30s and some of my 40s. But we do need to take it seriously and make it more normal for people to be wearing ear protection and masks, if nothing else.
I feel like constant hearing that noises constantly at that level can also affect your stress level.
Oh, absolutely.
So, which is also affecting the dogs on your table or the dogs around you, because if you're just constantly at that high stress level. Because I noticed when I started wearing hearing protection, the dogs on my table calmed down a little bit.
You had a better day at work, especially if you're like, oh yeah. The noise around us stresses us out. It absolutely does. Absolutely does.
Kim, whose son, Kim the groomer, who is sharing with us about her son who works on the Osha stuff, says that she sees people grooming in sandals. That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Flip-flops.
Oh no.
Flip-flops.
Literally the best thing I ever did after getting plantar fasciitis is that I started wearing like a New Balance shoe or an orthotic shoe, and I got a custom made orthotic, not one of those store made ones. And I wear these, hard walking shoes from New Balance with a custom made orthotic from a podiatrist, because your feet, and I'm actually walking and more energetic now than I was 25 years ago, just with good shoes. And
I'm the opposite from that. Where I started looking into more of the barefoot option and stuff. So I do minimal shoes and got rid of all the orthotics that I had been given year after year after year, and built up the muscles in my feet to adapt better. Just another point of view, but knee pain that I had had since high school went away in my 40s. So
it depends on what your problem is.
It kind of depends on what your problem is. Yeah.
But if you have plantar fasciitis,
to take it seriously. But to take it seriously before you have real problems later,
But you don't go barefoot when you groom, do you?
Well, I'm not barefoot. I have like a minimal sole, enough to protect me from thumbtacks and to have grip on the floor. But I wear that when I groom. Yeah. But the thing is that you do have to take it seriously. It's not like, oh, I'm going to wear Crocs, because they're like, oh, that's not a good choice. And also you want to be protected if you drop something on your foot.
That's huge.
Who was it? We had somebody that had the shear dropping their foot.
Oh, I don't
I've
remember
heard,
hearing
yeah,
that.
I've heard of clippers
you,
dropping on the
Katie?
top of a foot and breaking the arch bone.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
oh. I've had enough things drop on
I've
my
dropped
foot that I'm
shears.
not going to take the risk.
But I mean that it's stuck in. Is somebody
Oh,
stuck in their
Oh,
foot?
I would remember
It
that.
must have been. Maybe it was with when Rachel, when I was working with Rachel. One of I don't, but somebody, or I vaguely remember that they were telling, it could actually, I take it back. Maybe it was in one of my seminars, and she said one of the girls, they always wore flip-flops and drop the shears and tips down right into
Nope.
your foot.
Oh, no.
You know, for me, the things about like flip flops and stuff is that I slip around on them on the best of days. You know, it's not like you can run in flip flops. So I know there's probably someone out there, a precious unicorn,
sure,
who can, but I can't. I'm a
No.
hot mess if I'm trying to run in flip flops. I'm gonna kill myself just trying
And
to
if
move
they
fast
get
across
wet
the
and your
room.
foot starts sliding.
Yep.
Yep. But sometimes you need to run quickly across the room.
Yep.
You know, so
Or out the door
want
after a dog.
good footing.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You got to be able to run at least as fast as the dogs, hopefully. Right.
Yeah, right. But and also I think some of the things that we don't necessarily think about with our workspace is having a fresh set of eyes coming in. Like, hey, this work environment is really dim. How can we get you more light? You know, this isn't really good for your eyes. Or where are you storing your stuff? Because there's a better option. I just really like the idea of contacting OSHA and asking them, like, can you help us with this process? Because we all have blind spots. There's stuff we don't notice because we look at it every day.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Right.
that we're not thinking like there's a simple solution just by moving some stuff around in our own space. Because maybe there is, you know. Kim saying something about the holiday rush.
Yeah,
more accidents happen.
This in here.
Yeah.
Be curious if more accidents happen. Actually, I'm on the website. I'm gonna look for that right now because I can see the reports.
And
another thing about OSHA, you can see all the reports.
One of the differences with our profession as groomers when it comes to occupational safety and health is that we are our instruments, like our hands, our eyes,
I am my product.
Our ability to stand at a table and handle an animal. I mean, we are our instruments. And if we can't, like, I'm struggling with this now with the arthritis in my hands at my age, that if, you know, now that I can't really do as much as I used to do, it's heartbreaking. Because I feel like I know the most of my entire grooming career and I could really be doing, great work, but my hands are just shot. So we have to take care of our hands. We have to take care of all of that. We have to take care of our hearing, our bodies, our health. We have to get good sleep. We have to eat well. We can't just live off of, Starbucks with, 5 creams and sugars in it. And, I'm serious. Like I see what the kids are.
But we eat lunch. We're not monsters.
Only when you're forced to eat lunch.
I'm a coffee all day girl. Sorry.
Coffee
but coffee without sugar? No sugar in it? But yeah, we do need to think about things like taking a lunch break.
Yep.
At least take the break, there's just a lot of things to think about. And I really like the idea of contacting OSHA and saying like, all right, where do we start? What's our process? And even if they tell you like, oh, you only have 2 employees or you're a 1-person shop, like,
so
so I don't have to meet your standard, but I want to know more about making a safe workplace.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually says June, July, and August are the months the highest for injury rates. And they deem that because people are thinking of vacations and time off than they are of focusing on their jobs, because those are the 3 biggest.
I want to be outside and playing. Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
And slips are the number 1 workplace injury.
Wow.
Do they have it like broken down by industry, or is it just generalized?
Generalized.
Yeah,
They call
okay.
it a general service industry. So
Okay.
that's
Yep.
just,
Yep.
we
Okay.
probably fall under
Yeah.
that.
But having work just caretaken for my mother in her declining years, and becoming very expert with dealing with a senior, an extreme senior, and then watching one by one all of my mother's friends are starting to go too,
Mhm.
and every one of them, the beginning of the end was when they started falling. As
Yes.
soon as they start falling, yeah, it goes south real quick.
So interesting
So
here.
don't fall at work. Thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Like, really, one did fall?
It also says that Monday is the number one most injury prone day.
Huh.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
You got
I know,
soft over the weekend.
I'm serious.
You're too tired. You're not ready for work yet. You haven't had enough coffee.
Yeah. Coming off a 3-day weekend. Yep. And that overexertion is the leading cause of workplace injuries, obviously.
Oh, gee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not relevant to our grooming industry.
No, not at all.
Yep. Being tired, being stressed, being overworked. Yep. But again, thinking back to what things were like before OSHA, when factories and mills and like the Industrial Revolution, like that's how people get hurt.
Yep.
That's part of why it's here. It also goes along with our stories of how unions started for the same kind of reasons. Yeah.
Why we
Do
actually
not unionize groomers, though. Come on, that's silly.
well,
Yeah.
what
Kim,
would
give
be
me
nice
more
for
questions
groomers?
to answer.
What was that?
I said, come on, Kim, give me some more questions to answer.
I know, right? Come on, Kim. We're
The one
relying
thing
on
that
you.
groomers need, we don't need unions if we're not working in mass for one employer.
Yeah.
But we do need the buying power in healthcare.
Yes.
And that is why, you're starting to see like the American Professional, there's an APGA, the American Professional Groomers Association, I think is the initials, or APPGA, that they formed strictly for the purpose of being able to buy large scale healthcare at a reasonable price. So
Mhm.
there are ways that groomers can access those kinds of organizations without and getting better healthcare without a union.
Yep. In our area, we're doing that through our state.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I'm not speaking for everybody, but my husband and I, like the state has some programs and stuff for that. But yeah, the OSHA standards, you might have to spend some money, but then what do we spend money on? We spend a lot of money on a table that adjusts because we know it's better for us.
Right. Yep.
Right. And so if you're thinking in terms of like, oh, it seems like a lot. Yeah, but how much did that adjustable table cost you?
Yeah.
We need to start thinking about other things in our business that might not be as fancy. You might not look at it and go, oh, wow, that's great. But it's to make everybody healthier.
If you can get a tool that costs a little bit more, that feels better in your hands for your size and your shape, that's why you should always buy a clipper. I think people are always like, what's the best clipper to buy? Go and put them in your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Every groomer's hands are different, and you should get the ones that are the right weight and the right size for you and your hands. And all of these things should be individualized to you. You can't, it's not one size fits all.
Right.
Yeah. It's like riding a horse.
Yeah.
You can't ride in the same saddle as somebody else.
Something
it's got to fit the horse. It has to fit the person. Yeah. And then there's the riding style.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Why don't we think of these things? Why is it always going to somebody else and not thinking of it for yourself first and trying to take care of yourself first?
Yep. Which is almost what Kim just said in her comment.
Oh, I know.
Yep.
I was kind of, which one?
The most recent one.
I think
we
being
feel bad for the
unregulated in our
client.
industry, and we set our own pricing, we're too emotional, too empathetic.
Yep.
And so we feel bad when our clients emotionally manipulate us and say, oh, I can't afford that.
Right.
Yeah. But at the same time, we have to kind of remember that we're an elite service.
Yes.
I know groomers don't like to hear this, but they don't need to go to a professional groomer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They could try it themselves. If you want a professional to do your dog's haircut and your dog's bath and your dog's nails,
Yeah.
you have to pay for people to do it.
Right.
Nobody goes broke working on jet skis,
Right. Exactly.
right? Like, oh, but he couldn't afford it. Like, you know, like we have
That's
to
true.
we have to stick up for ourselves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They can-
Totally.
Yep.
You can go into all kinds for that.
Yeah.
They could actually pull out a brush between times themselves, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
nice.
It doesn't take very long. You can do it. I
Yep.
actually have really nice customers who do a lot of brushing, so it's good.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
good stuff. Yeah. So anything else that we didn't cover with OSHA? I feel like we need to talk about evolution shears, but like ergonomics.
I know.
Ergonomics. You
Ergonomics.
gotta,
The
I
only
feel like we
thing,
got to
the
a
only
little.
thing I would add to the OSHA thing is
Yeah.
just to make sure that everybody knows that inside your state, there may be actually higher
Yes.
standards
Yes.
imposed on your business than what the federal standards are, and you need to check your state government
Yeah.
requirements as well.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
That is very true. And you
Yeah.
can start by finding it on the website I posted. And
Yep.
from there, all the state resources are for you at your fingertips.
Yep.
It just takes a little searching. And for some reason, we don't like to research anymore. People just assume and they don't want to research. They just want it there. Oh, how
It's
right? You
crazy
just
because
kind
we
of
have these things.
Instant gratification.
Walking mobile
best
libraries.
clipper. Tell me what the best clipper is. You don't see people going, what should I do about OSHA?
True. It's true. Yep. Or your holiday shopping list doesn't include things like updating your electrical,
Right.
Right.
you
Yes.
know.
Or thinking
But if
that
it came in purple, you might. Ooh,
Yeah,
it comes
yeah.
in purple.
I mean,
thinking that you gotta clean behind your outlets.
Right.
Yes.
Because
Oh,
air flows
Air.
in grooming
Yes, you
shops.
have to
and it
vacuum
gets
Fire
them.
or fire hazard. Yeah.
between your yes.
You gotta
And
vacuum up the walls.
Mold.
And
Yeah.
mold.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely, Kim.
Yep.
and please send your dryers off every 6 months for servicing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a big hazard too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fires.
Yeah.
We've had one dryer motor catch on fire, and luckily we had a fire extinguisher in the room,
Wow.
as we do in every room. But how
Yeah.
many people have that in their salons?
Right.
Yep.
And
My
how about just
shop
making
is-
sure you have a first aid kit for human and canine on
Right.
hand in all
Yep.
rooms that everybody knows about.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
'Cause-
And that everybody knows about. That's important too.
Yes.
Because I know
Everybody
sometimes
needs to
people
know
are
where
like,
those things
oh,
are,
well,
yeah.
the fire extinguisher is over behind that thing in the closet. Like, that's not a good place for your fire extinguisher.
No, it should be
A
plain
customer
sight.
should be able to go in and go, oh my gosh, is there a fire extinguisher? And see it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
These
But
rules
on
are
the
protective.
on the ergonomic topic about you were saying evolution shears and so on, I don't know that OSHA regulates ergonomics, but I do know that ergonomics is important to our industry.
I
So-
don't know if they regulate it, but I think that they have a lot of solutions for it. You know,
Mhm.
like desk height, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like lots of solutions for people. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
tube of KY jelly at every station.
Says Kim for a safety thing. What's air quality, mold. What's the KY jelly for in the grooming station? She
We're all
asked.
gonna wait. We're all like quiet now.
I
I
know,
know.
like-
You gotta let us know.
Yes, we have to know what that's about, Kim.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
one. That'll be a new one on me, but I'm always open to learning new things. You'll have to tell us why we need
Yeah.
lubricants.
Mhm. And if anybody has any questions in the future about OSHA,
Oh, KY jelly
Oh.
stops bleeding quickly.
Interesting. Okay.
so like you can put it on their nails instead of
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Because I switched over from using the powdered quick stop stuff to the gel. Because I like the gels better. And they're analgesic and antiseptic. So, you know, they're
And it doesn't spill all over the place and rust your scissors and
Right.
Yep. But it's really effective. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I agree with you,
interesting.
Chrissy. I like the gel too, and it doesn't with the you think about all the contamination in the
Mhm.
septic powders.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And they spill and get all over the
Well,
place.
Yeah.
and something else too. If you have a first aid kit, you need to be checking them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I want those things to expire. I don't want to use them. I let
Right.
it expire. Replace
Yeah.
it. But you got to make sure you have everything. Things like vet wrap start,
Mhm.
not working well. I've thrown away
After
so
time.
many
Yeah,
things.
Band-Aids that don't stick anymore, and
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have a
Throw 'em
kid at every
away.
station.
wow. I have one in every room, but that beats me.
I put him in every station. Well, you just, because otherwise, and when you panic, you forget and
Yeah.
you just start looking through drawers. But if all your drawers are labeled properly and it says where the first aid kit
Right.
is, then you don't have to, because everything should have its home. And I am one, I don't like, Katie knows, I don't like things not having its home.
Yep.
I
And
want to
Garrett
know exactly where everything
and
is at
yep.
all times.
And
And I
labeled.
want it
Everything is
all
labeled.
labeled.
Yep.
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 And knowing where everything is going to stick in your head even when you do panic. If there's a process that
Yes.
people are like, and this is where you go to the eye wash station. Do you know how to use an eye wash station? Let's talk about it. It will kick in. Even if you start to panic, at least maybe somebody near you is going to be like, oh, let's rinse that out of your eye, or let's check the safety data sheet and see if we can rinse that out of your eye, but just knowing that those things are there, check them
Yep.
once in a while, make sure there's nothing expired and everything's in good shape, and those are our OSHA standards. I think they're,
Yep.
yeah.
And I think another thing that you are required to do, if I am correct about this, and I've been doing it, so somebody must have told me somewhere that I needed to do it, is that for every vacuum cleaner I buy, every shop vac, anything with a motor or that's electronic, anything that I purchase that has a booklet that comes with it in the package, you have to retain those booklets.
Yes.
And they need to be in an accessible place. My washing machine, my dryer, my, all of the equipment that we have, the computers, everything. We all have those booklets.
Yep.
We do.
There's a reason why I pack ratted those, I guess.
You never know when you're going to need them.
You don't know. I found out I had a reason.
Yeah, that is true. The cleaning supplies need to be kept separately from the shampoos.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. You don't want to accidentally pick up a
Make-
bottle of something. Yep.
Bleach on a dog's skin. Oh my God.
Yeah. We keep them in completely separate rooms.
Yep. We do
Yep.
too.
Yep.
It's just,
Yep. Because you have to think about that one person who doesn't know and they reach for something. So, yeah.
yeah. Ours doesn't have to be locked, but
I have a cabinet that has a lock on it and a key in it, but it's open all the time, but it stays shut. And if I needed to lock it, I could. Yeah. I've got that. It's, anything that potentially could be flammable or that somebody could steal that could be dangerous, you'd probably want to be able to lock up. Yeah.
And, as you're looking at it, just kind of, look through all this stuff and find out what you need to do differently, and also look when you're looking through OSHA stuff. I love Kim's son's idea of the clumsiest person
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
think about the clumsiest person or the brand new person. We often have teenagers and stuff getting involved with working with dogs, and I cannot tell you how many teenage boys think that more cleaner means it's going to be more clean.
Right.
If they just
Yes.
dump in extra bleach, there'll be less scrubbing. Like, dude, that's not how this works. We have measurements.
Yes.
You have to make sure that anybody new is being trained well, things like that. There's just a lot to cover. Glad we covered OSHA.
This is This is a good show. I hope that because the recording will be up, Dara, it will be located at the
So it'll be on the various Facebook groups that it went to live. It'll be on YouTube, the YouTube channel for Whole Pet Grooming Academy. And when I put the audio out, it'll be on the podcast for the Groomers Cut.
Yay.
Yeah, great. So, and yeah, the whole Pet Pro Educators Facebook group is going to have the recording if you're not in one of the
Yep.
other groups that
Yeah.
has it.
Yep.
It
Yep,
is.
yep, yep.
We're working on rebranding, so be
We
watching for
are.
that too.
Yeah, share this episode with
Yep.
everybody you know.
Mhm.
This is good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would love that. And
Yeah.
there was the Master Groomer Council meeting last night. I know Michelle usually updates us on what's going on with that.
I was
had to
there.
miss that one.
Christy, were you were
No,
there?
I had to miss it.
Well, I was there.
Go
I
ahead,
can just
Jennifer.
tell you, I can give you the update for the great Michelle Knowles and all of the wonderful groomers, not all of the master groomers. Anybody that's a groomer can join the Master Groomers Council on Best Practices. The application to do so is on the Facebook group for the Whole Pet Pro Educators. And that the Whole Pet Pro Educators has in the
I'll post the
file
link
section
again.
the application for any groomer who wants to join. We have been working for, and this was Michelle's brilliant idea, that we ought to do like every other industry does, and that is to set best practices and have the same kind of structures that lawyers and accountants, plumbers and electricians and doctors and other engineers all have these national professional councils where people get together and they vet and discuss, what's the science on this and what's the best way to do that. And if there's disagreement on a strategy, let's all put in our various points of view and let's determine what is the best practice in this area for our industry. And so
and revisit them every year.
And revisit it annually, which is what we did last night. We had our second year. So we've already put out an initial publication last year that has everything like anal glands, ear plucking, shaving double coats, anything that's a controversy, just listing best practices. And last night, what we did was, just kind of reviewing what do we need to clean up and what do we need to add. We talked about adding cats last night. So, and this is going to be a book that will be put together. We will put the PDF up on Amazon, and that will be available for you to print off of Amazon. I think it's going to be a matter of a couple of dollars. It's not going to be even more than 5 or 10 probably. And then you'll be able to have this in your lobby to show to your clients, for you to use it to train your staff. And it just covers a whole host of best practices in our industry.
We have a lot of customers that sit and read it.
Yep.
While they're waiting, because I printed off a copy of it and put the logo and we put it in a binder and put it right on, and people take that, and we've had people be like, can I get a copy of this?
And
just
yes, you
because
can.
they didn't get to read it all, and so I have spares that they can take home.
Yeah.
It's been really, really good to have that information. So I did post the link for the files for the first publication.
Nice. And Kim's asking me about if groomers can have a Lima commitment in there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Lima.
I think that would be amazing.
Least intrusive, minimally aversive, which is basically talking about how we handle our pets. And a lot of training organizations have had that as part of our moral code, that you actually are like signing off that like, I agree to adhere to Lima principles, least intrusive and minimally aversive handling. We should probably get that in there. Kim can help write that. She's a master groomer behavior specialist.
That's great. That's a great suggestion. We should add that. So I will.
I'm sure Michelle would love.
Somebody send me a message and I'll remind the Master Groomers Council folks. But any groomer is welcome to join, and all you have
encouraged to. Encouraged to.
Absolutely.
Please, more voices in the discussion.
It's not that,
and things have been voted down. So it's not all one-sided. I mean, you have a voice. Bring it.
Bring it for respectful discussion.
Yes.
And I love, this is one of the things that I love and admire so much about Michelle Knowles. She went into it with these sort of Oxford principles of academic, like if there is a subject that we're going to disagree about, we're going to bring our evidence. We're going to examine the sourcing of that evidence. We're going to use rules of debate that exist in academia. And it's actually, we've never actually had to, it's never really become an issue. Thank goodness. We've all been amazingly, there hasn't been any conflict, but to be in an organization that's willing to go up to the biggest controversies that you have in your industry and say, let's talk about it reasonably and rationally using these rules of good academic sourcing and reasonable discussion. It's a great thing.
I'll do a Monday talk on organizing your shop.
Is that what you want for one of our
How to
Mondays?
keep it organized, because
Yeah.
as much as I love it organized,
Yeah, but that's a great
It's a good
idea
topic.
for a show next week, like or in the future. Get one of those professional organizers on. I love that.
Ooh.
I'm definitely not that person, but I would love it.
Then we all go to the Container Store.
Right?
yeah. It's not even that hard. It really isn't.
It's really not.
It's
Yeah.
decluttering. I do it at home too. It's like, you know what? If I haven't touched it in a month, it's out of here. 30 days. If I don't wear it in 30 days, it's out of here. If I don't use it in 30 days, it's out of here. If I haven't touched it, it's out of here. If it's older than I am, it needs to move along.
Yes.
Because there is some ancient equipment out there that needs to be moved.
Oh yeah.
But if you're good to your equipment,
It
ancient
can last.
equipment could be fine.
Yeah.
Could be, you know.
Yeah, but we'll have Chrissy put that one
yeah.
on our topic, because I
Yeah.
do love organizing.
Yeah, we'll get more topics going. And
Yeah.
anybody else who has suggestions for topics, things you want to hear about, let us know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I'm for hot.
All right. So, all right. So another topic will be organizing.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Which actually kind of goes along with OSHA.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yep. And don't forget, we got to pitch the Teton Grooming Expo set
Yes.
for May.
Yeah.
That we have completed the speaker schedule, so that will be out.
Yay.
And the competition schedule will be out. I will definitely have the speaker schedule out by this week. So,
Nice.
and I don't know if I want to blow surprises, but holy cow, we have 16-day-long programs at this show.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So, and they are not just
High
on
quality
Thursday,
learning.
all
High quality learning.
weekend long. So it is going to be, it's going to be a pretty fun show, I think, because we've got some flair up our sleeves for what we're doing and doing some things different and changing it up.
It's going to be fun.
Can't wait.
So
And
everyone needs to go. Everyone needs to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's your side hustle for a topic?
Is that a topic? Is that like when people add photography to their grooming and the perks and the
right?
adding retail? Yeah, that's another good topic. All right, I'm digging it. I'll put it in the notes.
Thanks, guys, for this great discussion of OSHA. This was good.
Yeah, this is a great one. Thank you for joining. I'll do our closing credits, and we'll see you guys next week. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And
Kim, you could totally do it.
You can do it, Kim. We'll get you past that.
Don't worry. There's a class coming for that.
That's right. You got it. It's fine.
I'm on it. Have a good night.
Good night.